What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wicked Crazy Pinfalls. This is your boy Throwback. What's up, everybody? We got the man himself, one of the greatest people that is around, and it is always fun to talk to from Love Wrestling, Mr. Parrish. And then we got Aaron on too, so Mr. Rule of Order right there. So, as we say in the beginning of every show, what's good, guys? How you doing?
I'm good. I did not expect again to pick up on the microphone. I got to figure this stuff out.
Well, I mean, technical difficulties are bound to happen now and then. So,
It's not the technical difficulties; it's the user issues. I don't read manuals, so this is what happens when I botch technology spots.
Well, if you noticed, anyways, I mean, I am officially not downstairs. I am literally in the basement. That is going to be used as a third bedroom where I'm living, and a partly studio. So, for right now, there'll be a lot of piping jokes going through this whole show for the next few months. And I know when Anakin gets here, we will literally, at some point down the line, because he's not available, we'll be able to have those jokes.
He is with his family. Big deal. No, I'm joking, Anakin.
It's been an interesting year, so we're just going to talk about the year itself and, our thoughts about wrestling in general for over 2021 and stuff, and what expectations are. Also, comment, like, and subscribe. Go check out Love Wrestling. Parrish does amazing stuff, and Aaron does too all the time. But the ticker on the bottom, I'm gonna piggyback on something that I was talking about halfway through the end of the year in November and stuff. Just do a good deed and pay it forward. Donate to the American Cancer Society a little bit. It's just a suggestion, and you don't have to donate if you don't want to, but it's just a good deed to do, especially around the holidays. And it's the day before, New Year's Eve. So why not do something good? Last night was a really good show that I thought for Dynamite. Now everybody's like, holy crap, the NXT guys. Yeah, I'm paying attention to Dynamite more often because the product is a lot better than Raw is right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, was it your expectations, Parrish, about last night, or?
I did not watch last night.
No.
Really?
Last night was the first time the Oilers played, and I instantly regretted watching that game as soon as it finished. So I have not watched Dynamite yet. However,
yes,
I did catch a few clips of it on the social media. So it was. Did they go back to that Daisy place? Or
Daly's place.
Yeah, just for yesterday. Yes, just for yesterday. Yeah.
Am I the only one that thinks that's a better look and just makes their show look different when they're there opposed to the state, like the arenas? I get why they're going to arenas, but that Daly's place, when they want to, I don't know, it's like when you saw WCW at Mall of America, it just makes their show stand out a little bit more.
It makes the aesthetic and the staging a lot more easier to enjoy because you're not looking for a long entrance to get into it. You see it it's even killed and it's right at the view of the camera. And technically sound, it looks a lot more cleaner at Daly's place than they do at Arena Show or something like that. I mean, if it's different if they had it in Chicago like they did after Punk returned for a little bit. That was different because the camera going around the arena made sense. But at Daly's place, it's the focus out, and there's the tunnel, there's the ring, here's this, and this. But for me, overall, I thought, somebody who is a casual fan watching AEW and now starting to watch it a little more and more, I thought it was a really good show overall.
It was a great show. The main event kicked ass.
Well, for me, it was like, okay, you're not gonna botch not giving Kyle O'Reilly his first win in AEW. Come on. No. So that was just it was a great match. It was phenomenal. I was more into the 10-man tag just because I felt like every spot was touched and everybody had their finger on every pulse and stuff. It was paced well. It was really easy to follow. there's not many of those 10-man tags that you could actually. Usually, everybody's going boom,
Well,
boom,
that's
boom, boom, boom.
AEW does, right?
Yeah.
I'll just go by match by match. Like the matches I thought they're like good to see Mercedes Martinez in AEW. I think Thunder Rosa gave Jade Cargill her best match ever. Personally, I think that's her best match ever for Jade, because Thunder Rosa at the top of one of the top women in AEW, obviously, and in the ring and stuff. And it's good to see Mercedes. And I liked how the Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. Yes, Kyle O'Reilly debut, and they kind of had that pose last week. But I kind of like how in yesterday's show, this Kyle O'Reilly still trusts Adam Cole, because they were in NXT. They were in NXT, and they obviously in NXT the relationship soured and all that stuff. Kyle O'Reilly is the reason why Adam Cole left. If you go by canon, right? His contract's out, but loser leaves NXT, and Cole was that loser. And they still question that. And because in that match, if you saw that match, I'm sorry, Chris, if you haven't seen the match, even though the Undisputed Era Tech won, there were still trust issues because Kyle O'Reilly did kind of kick Adam Cole off the apron.
But I mean, was it the same way with like Jericho? Wasn't something like he had a match where he had to retire or something like that, and all of a sudden Jericho pops out? The return of Jericho is great. It's just, for me, what bothered me more so is like I'm hearing from a distance, it was a match for him to retire or forced to retire. It's a story. But for me, Mercedes Martinez, oh my God, anytime she's in a ring, just let me watch and enjoy her performance as a wrestler and a tactician. It's interesting.
20-year veteran. How was she not signed to like years ago to a major company? Like, seriously.
It's because she's older. I mean, that just it's going to be one of those scenarios where like a WWE is going to look at her and say, well, we have other options that does something just like what she does, but a lot younger. Therefore, we can put money into that instead of somebody who has less years. One of the few examples of them putting money into an older athlete lately was AJ Styles. And it's just because there wasn't anybody else on the market that could do, or would do for WWE than AJ Styles. He was one of the last few stars that had never gone to WWE that can actively go for years and years and years. They did not see that in Mercedes Martinez.
That was clear in NXT. Because they want to go to younger route, right?
Yeah, and let's face it, she got lost in the shuffle in NXT. And if you get lost in the shuffle in NXT, you're better suited to leave WWE and go somewhere else.
I mean, even so, she could have popped up on other places. Hell, New Japan. If they had like a full-on tilt women's division, that she would rule it with an iron fist.
Nobody's talking about New Japan. Their biggest show's next week.
Yeah, which is interesting to say the least. It's very quiet.
The one thing I did like about Mercedes Martinez in AEW is that company needs to start investing more in the women's division. And if you're going to bring new people in, bring in more women. Like, look at the women that aren't signed from WWE that are available and bring them in, because that is a division that badly needs more investment, not only from a money standpoint, an investor standpoint, a booking standpoint, but even a talent name recognition standpoint. And if you do that, you're going to be able to make Britt Baker a bigger star. You're going to be able to make Ruby Soho, Jade Cargill.
There's one woman for that right now, Ember Moon.
Well, Mickie James. Mickie James, Deonna Purrazzo would be absolutely beneficial. And the fact that they didn't use Deonna Purrazzo in the Forbidden Door part really was a kick in the nuts for the women's division in AEW.
Mm-hmm. I think you're way off. I think give me Britt Baker versus Toni Storm when Tony's ready to go. Like, literally, that is main event quality women's match right there, because you have two people who can go. And on top of that, which the sad part of all that is, and I know Anakin wanted to talk about, but I'm going to give my point, is that she's the only woman to actually be a part for all four brands, if you count the main roster, is a whole brand. No, three technically. and hold like one title out of theirs and the women's Mae Young tournament champion. It's asinine. Now you just basically gave a blue chip talent that people are going to say she's going to AEW. Can you blame her if she's that competitive? I mean, wouldn't you?
There was a lot of rumors out there that she asked for her release from WWE because she was burnt out by WWE. So I don't think it's necessarily WWE let her go. It's because she asked for it, and WWE definitely is one of those companies that say, if you don't want to be here, we will let you go somewhere else, because they want people to be there. I think sometimes they get a bad flack, and rightfully so, with a lot of the releases, but they're also in a completely different circumstance and situation than many wrestling companies, like an AEW is only a couple years in. They had too many people on the roster, and they ask for a way heavier schedule than an AEW does. So I think Toni Storm just did what's best for her, and you can't blame her.
The issue with AEW is not the women's division per se, but the more and more talent they acquire, it's gonna end up like WWE, where they can't use them all. That's why you have them in groups and stuff, or with managers, because they want to try to use them as much as possible.
Oh, I agree, because I remember when Pac was supposed to be a main event talent at the press conference, and I don't know what he does anymore in AEW. And I think that is an absolute strikeout on AEW's creative part.
And you have these alliances between factions too. Like you have like yesterday you had like the FTR teaming up with Matt Hardy's faction. Like that's because they're trying. The only way to get as much of these talent is try to have them in factions and stuff. And
can anybody honestly tell me AEW books FTR differently than WWE booked the Revival?
No, not at all.
So other than one silly idea that an entertainment company wanted to do for the Revival, because just be happy that they didn't split them up like they do every other tag team, for one. But the fact that they wanted to do something more entertaining with them, that's what people are upset about. But the fact that they're not in a tag team title picture, they got one off by the Young Bucks in a feud that could have been a lot bigger than what it should have been. And they could be doing so much more with Santana and Ortiz, Pentagon and Phoenix, like 2.0.
Even Santana and Ortiz, they haven't been used properly either.
AEW's tag division is great if they actually were aware of it.
Yeah,
if they actually used it properly too. It's being on the post show at the round table last night with the franchise BB and Julian and Shane. It literally, and they made a huge point on this, and I wanted to get your ideas. You think AEW is only gearing up now for trios? It's not going to be full on tag teams. It's going to be more focused on the trio aspect. Do you think that's going to be their main focus in 2022 going into it? Because it seems like with Cole and O'Reilly and Fish, and then the whole thing, you could have like if Omega comes back, then you have the Bucks and stuff like that. It seems like they're gearing up for more and more trios than focusing on tag team wrestling in general.
Yeah, and remember back when WWF had like Los Boricuas, they had DOA, they had the Nation, they had DX, and it just got a little bit stale. I think they also had the Oddities, and then they had like the Blue World Order at one point too, and then it's just like so convoluted of a card that it just got confusing. That's where I see a trail thing. If you even have a tag division and then you want a Trails championship, you don't think that's going to get convoluted?
It doesn't make any sense. It's like, who are you going to let shine out of it? Jurassic Express with Christian and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Who are you going to make the person that's going to be more like the main focus on that? I get it. Everybody gets their spots and stuff, and they get their everything going. But who's the one person after that whole thing is done and moves on to something different is going to be the one better out of it?
Who's going to be the single star out of it? Yeah, that's what WWE has done with their tag teams. Most of their tag teams now. Look at New Day. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. They could do fine as single stars. And same with the other, and I don't think the Usos. I mean, Jay did well as a single star for a bit, but I think the Usos are one of those teams they have to do. They have to be a
Twins are
team.
different though.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that perception thing. Like
I
a
mean,
lot of
WWE,
people getting confused, right?
And the Attitude Era, when WWE had those tag teams, they tend to try to make them as tag teams, try to have a breakout star. Like they tried with Billy Gunn, that didn't do well, so they had to do it with Noise Outlaws. And I don't see that with AEW. I don't see it with the FTR. They could do it with the Undisputed Era there. Each of those guys could be single wrestlers. I don't see that. I don't see that with FTR. I don't see that with Santana and Ortiz. I think Pentagon and Phoenix can be single stars, but they want to be a tag team. There's a lot of teams in AEW. I don't see a single star element as much as W had in the past or W has currently now.
But I think that takes away from the tag team, though. If you're actually looking to be like, oh, I want one of these to do well and one of those aren't. Like, why? Like, I think you're doing a bad job of making the tag team like a good investment for people to get behind. Because if you're watching, let's just say the Rockers, just so you can see Shawn Michaels as his own entity later, then what was the point of the Rockers? Why not just take that time to build Shawn Michaels as a single star from the get-go? Yeah. And you're kind of putting a limit on what the Rockers can do if you know your end game is just to make somebody as a single star. The one thing I want AEW is just to do is just use these other shows like Dark or Elevation or like Rampage. Like, have your big feuds on Dynamite, but then make big feuds over your tag titles, your women's titles, and then spread that out to the other shows. Sprinkle them in on Dynamite when you can. But if you're just going to add a second women's title, a trios title, and I'm really curious to see if AEW fans who already are talking negative about WWE, because let's face it, a lot of AEW fans just trash talk WWE and I don't think say enough good things about AEW without having to include one bad thing about WWE. But you tell me then if AEW has too many titles, because I think they do at that point.
I think it evens out because if they have the same amount overall, depending on each brand, I mean, the women's tag titles in NXT, the North American and the main one, and the women's title, there's like 5 there.
Is a TBS title for women's only going to be defended on Dynamite? TBS?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a regular title.
See, that defeats the purpose of the title because it's a TBS title. See, like with WWE, and there's a lot of titles with WWE, but at least the brand is so specific, you know?
Well, what do you think you're going to do with the TNT title for the men's? It doesn't make any sense. You're going to be on TBS.
Yeah, I know exactly. I think it's stupid to name a title after a cable station. Might as well Raw and SmackDown might as well come up with a Fox title and a USA title. Oh, they do have a USA title. The USA Network title.
Come on, go Canadian, go TSN title.
TSN title, yeah.
Oh God.
Or Sportsnet title.
I just think it's stupid to name a title after. I just think it's stupid to name after a title after a network.
Well, I think too, what's funny when people argue, like I remember a couple months ago when women didn't get enough time on SmackDown, and people got so up in arms about how much time the women didn't get. And they didn't realize, well, what happens if Fox is saying, we want more Roman Reigns, we want more this, and we want less of this on our station?
They want Charlotte Flair.
WWE is going to do that because that's what the station wants. That's why they're paying a boatload of money for that. If TBS and TNT are going to AEW and be like, hey, part of our contract is we want to get our names out there a little bit more. We don't think maybe our logo on your apron's enough. Make a title and put our logo on it. And they're like, okay. And the one thing Tony Khan is kind of irresponsible with is the way he's spending his money.
You can say of the Jaguars, his family in the Jag. So yeah.
I mean, Punk's line in that promo made perfect sense that they're spending the Khan's money worse than they freaking signing Tim Tebow. Like that literally just set everything off. But it was awesome. It was a great one. It's you're right on the whole title thing. It's like, do you want to water down everything and have a belt here, belt there, everything, or do you want one specific? I mean,
What's the more important title, TBS women's title or the women's title, the AEW women's title, right? At least in WWE, they acknowledge that each women's title is a major title. What are they gonna do here with NXT is AEW? Which is the more are they gonna acknowledge them as equal titles?
well, for me,
sorry, go ahead.
For me though, and I've said this, that WWE should have a second women's title, singles title, and
Let's get rid of the tag team titles. That's what they get rid of.
But I think they should keep the women's tag titles, but use them a little more, make it more vulnerable. But having like something where, okay, so you're gonna pass both of those titles between Sasha, Charlotte, Bayley when she gets back, and Becky for a while, and maybe Bianca, Rhea here and there. Why not add another thing so it gives somebody like a Liv who's extremely talented, or give somebody like Naomi to feud against Liv to give them more stakes into it. For me, it'd be more investing watching them go after something than just watching the same people, 6 people playing ping pong around the same freaking title belts.
I think the big mistake was adding NXT tag titles when you could have used the tag titles to be on all the brands like it was supposed to be. And they really kind of shot themselves in the foot there when they did that. And then I honestly think unite your tag titles and do the same thing for the tag titles, because NXT tag division is not that big. Neither is the ones on SmackDown or on Raw. So why do you need 3 different sets of tag titles when you don't really have the pool for them? So like NXT UK does a better job with their championships. And then again, like we're watching an episode where they're going to merge the Cruiserweight title with the North American. And you're like, well, what was the point of taking the Cruiserweight title away from NXT UK just so a year and a half, 2 years later, you can just, kiss it goodbye?
Yeah, and do absolutely nothing and retire it. Now the only titles you hear about the UK side is the men's and the women's and the tag.
Yeah, and Dragunov hasn't even really done anything as champion over there yet.
He hasn't even defended it once, I think.
I mean, I know he got married, but like,
I know that it looks like Walter's moving to the States, like based on NXT. It looks like that's happening. Yeah, I know Simon Moore as the women's champion, but like, who's your next? Oh, Bea Priestley, right?
They have the Heritage Cup
yeah.
That kind of replaces, and which I don't mind because it's different. So you have a different. It was like, if you guys remember the Pure title, like, and the original idea behind that with Ring of Honor, like I know they brought it back, but like it just brought a different element to the show, which was nice. So if you're gonna have something like another title or whatever, have a different element that comes with it, because what's going to make it stand out from any other title? Like, what's going to be different from the TBS title to the AEW women's title? Which, honestly, from a visual standpoint, it looks like if you took a bag of dump and put it towards a pot of gold. Like, it doesn't even look that nice. It just looks like a version of the TNT title, but it's for women. And it's like, WWE does that. And you already crap on them for having very lazy-looking titles. So why are you guys doing that now? Like,
it's like you can't. It's like the pot meeting the kettle kind of thing. It's like, you can't have one thing and expect everybody else to do another. I'm more excited to see what they do with this title, but I just hope that one thing they do is like they make it relevant and make it like the IC title or something like that in WWE, where it's like the workhorses title on the women's side.
I feel like they made a title for Jade. Like, a lot of people are thinking.
I was gonna say, if you want to work, nothing against Jade, she has a lot of potential, but she is not the best in-ring worker for the women's side. If you want to do that, you put it on Ruby Soho and you let her carry with it. Because if you have a heel as your actual women's champion, you should have a babyface win the TBS title.
You wrestle. Is it the heel usually the general in the ring?
It varies. I mean, If you have your first match and you're the heel against me, I'm gonna probably target this match. I'm not gonna let you like get so lost in everything. But I mean, it's a different thing. I mean, it's a work. That's why they call it a work. Everyone there is working with each other to do something. It's just, I don't know. Like my thing is like, if you have everything the same, no matter what, how much is your product actually going to stand out?
It's the same way with business. If you have something where, you want something to stand out, but you also want everybody to talk about it.
It's my issue with the Royal Rumbles lately, actually, too. Because this year's Rumble, we saw both Edge, who was an early entrant, win, and then we saw Bianca Belair, early entrant, win. Years prior, you saw somebody get booted out of the match, come back, and do something. Same thing. And that is overplayed. And they always tend to do the similar things in each Rumble, and it just gets boring. Like Royal Rumbles, as cool as they are, and as much I think that pay-per-view stands out above a lot of other ones they have, they get really redundant when they do similar things in both. And I feel AEW is starting to be a little redundant when it comes to introducing new championships, because it makes everything a little bit more predictable on where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Well,
because now that Mercedes Martinez is in there, she ain't going after a championship.
No, she's going after Thunder Rosa right now.
So she's pigeonholed from the beginning. Because if she came in and did her own thing, the talk is, okay, which title should she go for? But now she's not going for one. She's just going to play the role of making sure nobody's challenging Jake Cargill for a championship. Is that really something you want to see Mercedes Martinez do? Or do you want to see her do something? Do you want to see her kind of go after something?
Yeah, it's more after the whole thing she went through in WWE. I think especially the retribution stuff, I think it'd be more prevalent for her to actually do more in AEW and actually hunt for something. Hell, give me her and Deanna. If she wasn't going to be in AEW, Impact would have been a perfect fit for her. And that type of match would have made a lot more sense than her
Mercedes?
going after Thunder Rosa. Oh, yeah. Mercedes versus
Deanna. I thought she signed with Impact. I thought... Does she have? She just has like a contract she can work anywhere, right? Because I know that the deal between AEW and Impact is not their deal is up. I thought she signed with Impact, but I guess it was just more of an appearance deal.
Yeah, like a good chunk. Like Heath Slater for the longest time just worked on appearances for Impact. He didn't actually sign a contract. And then I think isn't that what Cardona did for AEW? He just signed a couple appearances for them, and then he went to Impact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, still, it would be an awesome match to watch just right away.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd love her to see her and Sheeta. Oh my god.
Yeah, Esther said that she thought the same thing about she did their pay-per-view too. But for me, it would just be exciting to see people used in the right places at the right times. And that's really difficult to predict. But still, when you have people who work really hard like Deanna and stuff like that, I mean, come on now, it's well worth it. And this goes to show you with Mercedes going in AEW, Deanna and Impact, all these amazing women talent that they had in men's. WWE screwed the pooch a little bit on these.
Mm-hmm.
They could have, or maybe the talent didn't do as well there as they could have, and it could have just been a bad timing too. Because I remember Jericho when he said he didn't have a really good match for a while when he started with WWE, and he thought he was going to be fired. Some people just have bad luck. Like we talked about Karrion Kross and some of the how much we didn't like. Well, people say they didn't like his presentation when he was on Raw. But he never really had any good matches either. So he didn't help his cause there. Whereas in NXT, he was having good matches. And we even saw that later, and he was kind of losing his fog and things like that. So it's he was capable of staying relevant without the bells and whistles on NXT, because he was having good matches. And then sometimes when you don't have good matches, like, and then you're not really connecting with the audience with what you're doing, sometimes that just falls flat with the people that you're trying to impress backstage.
I think Cross's character, when I saw Cross's character, when he first debuted, I mean, this is going to be awesome and stuff. But then I started saying, yeah, this character doesn't have a long shelf life. People are going to see right through it.
Maybe, but at the same time, Kane lasted for how long?
Yeah.
The Undertaker lasted for how long?
30 years.
And like, it really
Undertaker is a surprise, and Kane is a surprise. Like usually those kind of characters should not last that long.
I mean, at some point we have to give the onus on the talent too, and not always blame booking or things like that, because sometimes the talent just doesn't connect with what they have and it doesn't work. And sometimes they only have the one shot to do it. Steve Austin made the Ringmaster work. It wasn't the best, but at least he showed people that, like, hey, okay, this guy's good. We just got to find something else for him. Like, at least give them a little bit of hope instead of like, man, I just don't know what I'm going to do with this, because like, they're not having good matches. Their character's not, connecting. Like, what do? We don't have anything for them. And then it's like, now you're
look at Mankind. Look at Mick Foley. Look at Mick Foley. Vince McMahon had no interest in Mick Foley. It was JR who convinced Vince McMahon to hire Mick Foley. And look at it. His first introduction to WWE, his first big feud was with The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was watching a thing today about like 7 gimmicks that were intended for other people. And then like sometimes like things worked. Like Edge was supposed to be Val Venus at one point.
I heard that. Yeah.
Wow.
Jericho was supposed to be the Goon.
Oh, because he's hockey, right? Kind of hockey.
Crush was supposed to be the next Hulk Hogan, not Lex Luger. Brian Adams, who was Adam Bomb, was supposed to be the Ringmaster at one point.
Was it Adam Brian Clark?
Yeah. And so like it's amazing. And like that's what he became in WCW. But like sometimes you can make good decisions. Oh, like what was another one? Terry Taylor balked on Mr. Perfect and chose the Red Rooster instead. And like, talk about a guy that wasted an opportunity by doing something really good and did something really stupid. And like that kind of stuff still happens today. And like nowadays people just complain about booking because they think they know more about what goes on behind the scenes than what actually is happening. And everybody likes to comment on things because Twitter allows them to. So we just got to like take a step back and analyze things a little bit more before we, hit send.
And the thing is like, think before you act, or think before you speak sometimes too. I mean, you never know what could happen. I mean, it's just the way life is. Next thing you know, you think you're going one way.
It's just easy to show on WWE. It's just easy to show on WWE. That's what the easy thing. Like, that's what it is.
It's like, remember when UFC was getting a little too cool and everyone's like, yeah, but check out Pride. Look at what they're doing in Japan. Oh my God, like the entrances are amazing, and like the showmanship of like the production is amazing. And then all of a sudden it like disappeared like a fart in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, silent but deadly.
Yeah, and like it's one of those things where it's like people really need, and I see this with Hook. Actually, I think this is a really good example. Hook's had 2 matches. His second match had a very controversial no sell that did not need to happen. He did not need to do that to become what he was. And then everyone is saying this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer after 1 match. And it's like, just kind of ease the brakes. Like, let's see what he becomes first.
That's not fair to him.
No, but like, he doesn't care. Like a lot of the wrestlers don't listen or don't care about the dirt sheets and don't do that. This is more for the fans. This is more for the people that are spectating than the people who are actually performing. But the funny thing is when you do this, you're getting this what was the saying I said? It's like if you're looking at something just to analyze it, and like if you're watching something just so you can like pick it apart, you're kind of losing what your initial organic reaction is to something to begin with. And that's really taking the special part of what enjoying a pro wrestling show is really just kind of reacting to what you see and not having to worry about like complaining about it, because isn't that like what when we were kids, the best part of like watching something was getting together and talking about it.
Wait, think about it, the days where there was no internet. This is gonna date myself. Holy crap. Remember the days where you could play like, you know, Ding Dong Ditch? Like you see these on TikTok, by the way, and this is real. In the days you could play Ding Dong Ditch and you could run away and just laugh about it.
Ring the bell, run like hell. That's what we called it.
Yeah, and now you ring a doorbell and all of a sudden you get a phone call 10 seconds later. I seen you ring my doorbell, Joey. I'm going to call your mom.
Well, to be fair, that was kind of a very very ignorant game to play.
Yeah, but it's the point is that we're so attached to every word everyone says out there, everything else. We don't have like connections. Like it's different with this because of the fact that there's personal interactions and stuff like that. Like a good example, me and Aaron will sit and just talk for hours right before the shows. The last two, you and me sat and talked for a couple of minutes. It's like it's different, and it'll eventually lead us to all hanging out and stuff like that. Like Spencer talks about, if he's watching, what's up, dude? Hopefully, you know, Plug O and JPJ ain't destroying your budget right now, man.
Not my budget. I'm not the owner.
Well, the thing is that I know he said he wants to come to Boston. That'd be great. You know, having you come down here, and I don't know. I was telling someone that maybe one day you'll wrestle for Chaotic for a little while down here and stuff like that. You never know. It's just it's great to have these connections and hang out and stuff like that. You know, I told Aaron one of the things I want to do is go to Toronto and stuff. It's all these things that help out, but it's not different compared to actually sitting down and having a conversation.
Yeah, and it's like, remember when the party was such a big thing, and it was only like everyone just connected on their own little like at home, and they just played each other like with Uno every week, and then they did it a couple times in person. You can just see how much more fun they had it when they were in person, and that's because like you just saw the positives that came out of a scenario. Like you saw the enjoyment of 4 people just getting together and doing something that they enjoy doing. And that's what like a pro wrestling show should be about. It should be people who come in who love watching pro wrestling, enjoying pro wrestling, and then taking that like positive feelings out of the arena when the show's done, talking about what they loved about it, maybe saying, hey, one day maybe that's going to be me, or like maybe one day, you know, I'm going to be a referee, or like, you know, like whatever, or like one day, like I just hope anytime they come to my town, I'm going to go, and like things like that. Look forward to the little things a little bit more. And I think people will enjoy the big things that much more, because I really think people are missing out on the good things WWE is doing, but they don't forget to do that with AEW, because it's the new shiny toy that everyone needs for Christmas. It's the Turbo Man that they need their Arnold.
Oh my God. Thanks for the pop culture reference. I was waiting for that.
I got you. I'm old too.
Yeah. For me, I look at it this way, right? And this is even older. This is like dating, like for me, for cartoons, it's like when you're a kid in the 80s and stuff, it's like you and your friends would argue, and this is offbeat of wrestling. You and your friends would argue which cartoon was better, He-Man or G.I. Joe. Like back, that's how far that goes. And for some people, it'd be like, you know, anime wise, people argue to this day if Naruto is better than freaking Dragon Ball, and it's just,
thank
you know,
God social media wasn't really back in the mid 90s or the late 90s when we had WCW versus WWE. Oh my!
I would love to know if the internet was around in the Attitude Era, if they would actually appreciate the Attitude Era as much as people did, or if would pick it apart like they're doing now.
I think
it was, but it wasn't like we didn't have like Twitter, Facebook, like we didn't have platforms where we could express our like opinions and stuff.
You did, but it was basically, you know,
Yeah, that's
board,
true.
like soundboards kind of thing where it's just
Or
like,
message boards.
Yeah,
boards.
we didn't have
pretty
Spotify, but we had Napster.
Oh yeah. Oh, Napster. Yeah, I remember that.
We didn't have
yeah.
Twitter. We had MSN Messenger, brother, and
Messenger.
MySpace.
Oh yeah. Yes.
No. I'll even
AOL.
go further. I'll even go further. I had AOL.
Nexopia?
AOL dial-up.
Oh.
Like I my cousins, and I love my cousins to death. They're younger than me. When I mention a payphone, and there's one in our city still out there, they're like, "We need to take a photo of it." What?
I think payphones are awesome, and they should still exist.
Oh, I know, right?
Because when the time comes where you got to make a call and you played too much on Pokemon Go or whatever stupid game you had and killed your battery, and you didn't invest into, I don't know, like a battery, like something to charge it, like a
battery extender or something.
Yeah, like one of those phone banks or whatever. Payphones, terrific. But also, we live in a digital way where we can just tap our card and pay for everything. Who carries change, right? But you could always tap a phone and then make a call.
Yeah, I mean landlines. Oh my god, I love landlines.
You know what's great?
Taking the phone and have like a 25-inch cord that's connected to the base to the handle, and then you're just running around.
For the longest time, my parents still kept their landline, and I thought it was funny to text their landline because then an automated message voice would read the text, and I would make sure that what I sent was something so ridiculous that when you heard it in that text, my now 70-year-old parents would be like, "What the is this guy even doing?" On top of the fact that when they call me, I wouldn't answer it because my voicemail is like, I'm an asshole for having my voicemail for what it is.
But back to everything, it's also you had like the hotlines and stuff like that for wrestling to talk to.
Rumors,
like, like you literally had to pay for it.
Back when like Sunny was always like, back when she was attractive and people actually looked at her with like positive like vibes instead of just like, well, she looks like she just got out of jail, which she probably did nowadays. But people were like on there and they were making so much money because they got to talk to Sunny, the most downloaded woman on AOL at one point in history.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, remember to ask your parents.
and the thing about it is back then, you know, if you were in the middle of having a conversation with a friend, all of a sudden your phone picked up, you lost the conversation.
Yeah.
It created so many arguments in our house. It was funny. But it's the same way. It's like AOL versus MSN, where it's like AEW is like, you know, MSN, whereas, you know, WWE back then, WWF was actually AOL. Like everybody wanted to be a part of having the internet, or you knew a friend that had the black box and you literally sat there and watched everything on it, and it was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. If you don't know what a black box is, look it up. I don't think that they
got your anymore. Pay-per-views and porn, people.
Oh God, he said that I didn't. I think though it's just now we're so taking out by it. There's a lot of people like me that grasp the idea of wanting to have these conversations. So I mean, doing this stuff is great because of the fact that you still feel like you have. I don't know about you, Aaron and Chris, but for me, it has some sense of like we're in different parts of the world, but we could actually have a sit-down conversation and not have to feel like, okay, you know, I'm 25, I'm 100, like 500 or 5,000 miles away from you, but we're not sitting down and talking. We're just sitting here in front of a computer talking, where back then there was no way of doing it in video chats and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, and like what's cool about this, and I think we all can agree, is that we're still coming together in the ways of we're all fans of professional wrestling in one way or another. Like So I think the fact that we're still doing that shows that it's still capable, and it's still a thing that people can do, and we see that all over online, like anyway, whether it's Twitch, whether it's like StreamYard, whether it's any form of social media. And it's cool because you get to meet a lot of cool people, but at the same time, we all get to talk about pro wrestling and share the different perceptions that we have from watching it to make us appreciate things differently. Because if you're not looking at things from more than one angle, you're gonna be very outdated with what you're actually watching.
It's just you become complacent. That's why a lot of people now with WWE fans that have been there for years and years and years, me being one of them, it's like you're looking at not the talent, you're looking at the stories and the product, and you're just like, why am I spending 3 hours watching something that just, is really bad? It's like you could be doing something else. So like, I listen to, everybody else's views on it, and I make my own choices now with Raw. It's sad. It's like I should be watching some Raw, but the thing is that why am I going to waste everybody's time that watches us and talk about 3 hours of freaking pure ass hot garbage? Yes, WWE fix Raw. It's a piece of shit. And why would I not talk about AEW's, Dynamite and NXT and SmackDown and stuff like that? I mean, there's a formula that WWE has right now, and it's like we give you what you guys supposedly want or force feed it, and then we 50-50 the rest. Yeah. So it's, and back then we just didn't know any of the information about people being released or anything like that, or somebody losing their job for certain reasons, or the shenanigans in the backstage area and stuff like that. You never knew any of that, and now it's like it's all there.
You know what I find very ironic but kind of hypocritical in the same time? How many people that you guys both know over the years lost a job because of either a situation that made no sense or because they just didn't do a good enough job? Like, how many people would you say that you know?
A lot.
Yeah.
Did you go online and complain about the company?
No,
not really.
Boggles my mind that this happens in pro wrestling. How many people that have very little to know about these performers? And like, I get it. It's a nice thing to care about others. I'm not going on that train. But let's face it, like, I do not know Matt Cardona at all. But he gets let go, and I'm supposed to feel bad for the guy who in 10 years could not ever, or sorry, 15 years, ever elevate himself to the world heavyweight title picture and had 15 years of opportunities to do so and failed. And now I'm supposed to care about him like he's my best friend. It's like, guys, people lose their jobs all the time. It's unfortunate, but sometimes it's for the better, because you look at the ones that pick themselves up, do good work, and succeed from it. And that's a good story. And that's what you want. If you care about these people, that's what you should hope for. Don't worry about if they lost their job. Worry about how they pick themselves back up and see if you're part of the solution. Because there's always a reason of why something didn't work out. Just like there's always going to be a reason of why it was meant to be.
It's always, and to quote what Drew says, Twitter's kind of like a cesspool of negativity, but there are very few people that are very positive and stuff. And everybody totes me as being positive and stuff like that at times on Twitter, but it's just, I put my problems out there. I figured if it helps somebody out, why not? To quote someone that's probably watching and is upstairs, right? That sometimes I can be a little extra, but I mean, but in a good way, I try to do my best, and I think everybody here does. That's why, like, we talk about mental health on our shows. We talk about all this stuff, and people, look at with these people complaining about losing their jobs and stuff. They're probably just blowing steam off too because they're frustrated.
Yeah, but like, again, maybe more people should be like, hey, Aaron, thank you for always every other week always saying, "Hey," promoting us on Twitter, and always like doing something nice for no reason at all. Like nobody thanks Aaron enough for doing that. So thank you, Aaron, by the way, for doing all that stuff. But more people complain about, "Hey, why didn't I get mentioned?"
Hell, I'll even say it straight out of the camera. I tell JJ whenever I get a chance and say thank you. I mean, JJ, who, he promotes the distraction and he retweets people's stuff he likes or people he cares about and stuff like that. I tell people, go check out you guys love wrestling, check everybody else out. I tell everybody like I have people asking me, like I have someone I talk to when he comes in to have work done for his car, and he asked me, "Hey, what's a good podcast? Hey, I like this. What do you think?" I'm like, and I tell him, go to Fightful, go to Love Wrestling, go to bodyslam.net roundtable, go to Aaron World Order, go to this and this, and he sometimes will pay attention to what we do, and sometimes he won't. It's just variety is great, and if you give positive feedback to somebody, they give it back too, right? That's all of what's best in the world for.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you said you wanted to talk about 2021 in the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
What was your favorite moment of 2021 in pro wrestling?
For me, it might be politically satisfying just because of the whole thing of women's wrestling and how they don't get their due for like main events and stuff. But I think the best moment in wrestling was all year. Everybody will say match of the year. So the best moment personally, just to see how big of effect for an entire year this one match made, was that WrestleMania match, main event match with Sasha and Bianca. That literally changed the landscape of not only wrestling wrestling in general, but it changed the landscape of the world pretty much at that point.
Based off poorly built storyline.
Aaron, pardon my ignorance, but I just forgot. Where are you from again?
Toronto.
Okay. So you're in a very diverse part of Toronto. And I know, Throwback, you being in the Massachusetts area, it's a lot more diverse. And I can guarantee it's more diverse than where I am in just outside of Edmonton. How amazing has WWE I'm going to say this. I think they've done a great job of exploring women of ethnic color and not targeting them for anything, but using them as strong, positive images for the audience over the last few years. And that even goes to the males too. I think they do not get enough credit for how well they treat people of race at sometimes, because people look at always the stigmas instead of what they actually do with it.
I mean,
people used to say on Twitter and stuff that, well, how come has there been a black champion since like Mark Henry or something, or black and Sasha Banks for a while was like the only black women's champion, but Naomi was black champion, but that was like two I could think of. And Lisa Fox was like the decade ago. There used to be that stigma from among people that they haven't put the main title on a black person. Now, I agree, it's totally changed because Big E, Bobby Lashley, New Day, even the Hurt Business, Bianca Belair, they've done a much better job. Over the years.
You also got to remember when the women's title, the original version that was around with Trish and stuff, Gail Kim was champion at one point.
So was Jazz.
Yeah, and
Jazz. Yeah.
Jacqueline.
Yeah. Jacqueline. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, they do it, but for me, just with what was going on in the world at that point in 21, everything shift. I think the biggest personal impact in wrestling that's made for me, it's hard because was the show in this past November where it was right around my mom's birthday, and I was hopeful that we'd get people on to pop in and stuff, and it didn't work out. Schedules don't work, But I felt, and I'll be honest and take the wall off. I felt so defeated. I was ready to shut everything down. And it took one person, one or two people, mainly one person in person or here, and another person to say, hey, just don't give up. Just that, and that's why I say with Twitter and stuff like that, there's positive people out there. But I messaged one person and told them what I was thinking, and they're like, just don't give up. You're doing great. It's just you have so much doubt in your head about everything. That a positive thing in 2021 for me, wrestling wise, was it's weird, but seeing so many good matches and seeing so many people finally getting to go to places and see it, it gave me hope, because now it's like, okay, Survivor Series is in Boston, and the reason why, and I'll say this much, when the pandemic hit and it got taken away, SummerSlam got taken away from Boston, I was so upset about it, is because I felt like I can actually have my friends come visit me and hang out and stuff, and we can be on my back porch and just, talk about all this stuff and everything. And, now it's going to be in November next year, and it's like, I don't think anybody wants to be in Boston in the cold in November. So, I mean,
To be fair, it's minus 30 where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So the cold doesn't bug me.
No, I know, but some people
I would love to check out Boston because I think there are so many cool things to check out in there. But more importantly, there's so many people that I can meet there.
Yeah, I know. Me, Ed, and JPJ.
And Pluggo. I think Pluggo's there too.
No, Pluggo's in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah.
Why do you think like every
We're gonna
time
go to Indiana at some point too?
Why do you think every time I joke with him, I'm like, I'm gonna show up at South Bend and watch you, just see me watch wearing a BC Eagles jersey walking through South Bend where Notre Dame is.
Oh man, I don't know where all the colleges are in the States. I only know where a few are based on like,
and we got a Frozen reference. Cold doesn't bother you anyway? Are you gonna shoot igloos and stuff like that? Or are you just gonna let it go, Parrish?
Gee, man. Don't make me show you my nipples and show you how cold I really am. All right.
Oh, God.
Let's keep this a little bit professional.
But for me, like the best.
Yeah, but then again, I am wearing a nice Shawn Michaels retro shirt. So,
but I think ultimately, for podcasting wise, for 2021 wrestling wise, I think the biggest highlight was just knowing that I've made good friends. Like me, every time I would pop in Love Wrestling, you would be hitting me up saying, "Hey, what's going on?" and stuff like that. I have like everybody in the crew and stuff, and there's one person I miss. He's doing his own thing out of he's back on Twitter, but he's not doing anything. He's doing stuff because he's busy. That's not podcasting and stuff. But Ray, I really miss talking to Ray on a daily basis.
Too.
And having like we have daily conversations and stuff, but I miss having like Aaron posting a picture of what's coming in Marvel, but nobody knew about it months in advance, kind of thing, or Anakin doing something crazy, Drew talking about the tournament, or Maggie being Maggie, which we love you, Maggie. We really do, Maggie.
Maggie being Maggie. That's good.
I miss the one highlight though, personally, and he's not. If he watches this, he probably does. I know Rob does sometimes, but doing Rob's show was a highlight of my year.
Yeah, being on a show from time to time.
It was not even that. It was just he was one of the forces that pushed me to do this. So being on his stuff, it was an amazing thing, and I miss just me and Rob sitting there shooting the shit and just being completely idiots on camera sometimes. Like sometimes, like when the one show he did, where it's like he he had tech no problem. And I'm just sitting there and like, oh boy, I'm in the void. But but a lot of the shows he did were amazing, and I'm glad to see what he's doing with Fightful Select with Maggie, and I miss doing that stuff. It's like I want
So
to
bad.
do more stuff.
You know what the highlight of my year on your show was? When you did the 1 year anniversary, when you had like almost everybody from Fightful, and we had
Oh
to talk.
my God.
We were talking about Alexa Blitz's pig,
Oh
and
my
how
God.
we were being mean to it and stuff. We were like, because she was mourning her pig, and we were being kind of like joking around about her pig. It was mean, but it was funny. Like we didn't mean it. Oh my God. And we were talking about babies wrestling also.
No, man. What are your hopes this year, Parrish? Because I mean, obviously, professionally, for your own, sake, you want to be holding more titles than anybody in this, including the Love Wrestling title, also. So, I mean,
well, I feel like I had to drop the Love Wrestling League Championship from someone from accounting, just so our budget would be okay moving forward. So that's my reasoning to not winning the Battle Royal at the Love Wrestling, changing the game.
I gotta get in that. I gotta get in that though. I'll one of these days I'll end up getting another belt, and I'll put that up on there.
I have no idea where that title is. Like I'm sure Taryn still has it, but she hasn't defended it at all. At least I had it and became the longest reigning Love Wrestling League champion. I defended it all the time.
Yeah,
there's no 30-day.
I defended it against Vegas and won.
There's no 30-day compete clause.
I don't bother reading anything anymore. The fine print doesn't look that fine to me. It just looks like something to do that I don't want to do, so I don't do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it's like all those like agree and continue things when you're downloading a video game. You just click the box and it okay. But no, like my goal, like hopefully I just hope COVID is a thing in the past in 2022. Like I think first and foremost, we get anything that could be restrictive out of our eyes. Like it's still something that's going in. Like there's so many variants going on. That's just like we're all figuring this out as we go. Like it's one of those common things where every human is calling it out on the fly. That's kind of what it is, right? Like we're just adapting and going. But if we can somehow push that behind us and move forward, then I think, it's a win, because then we can do everything. Then like the opportunity of doing more of these streams in person becomes more of a realistic thing. Also, just being able to see family that you don't get to see because of those restrictions would be nice. But also, like from a wrestling standpoint, just being active. Like I'm very fortunate where I can say I've been active for the last few months, so it's like I have no complaints there. But not having anything shut down because of something out of your control would be nice. Titles would be terrific. I just want to see wrestling as a whole become a little bit more positive but cool again. I think it's cool for the people that enjoy it. I don't know if it's necessarily cool for the people that aren't aware of it or don't watch it. I want it back when Stone Cold made it cool.
Yeah. Podcasting was for me for doing this, because we're going to be hitting 2 years on, May 26th. And I'm just going to invite you now, because I know your work schedule is crazy and stuff like that, but it'd be an honor to have the guys on Love Wrestling, mainly you, Spencer, Ed, JPJ, Pluggo, Zach, and just everybody that's, let me be on your stuff doing Quizplex. And
Astrid, she's in the chat.
Astrid too, yeah. Everybody in general, have everybody in that 2 year show. But there are a few people that have helped get me along to this point, and I'm hoping eventually I could do stuff with them again. I know it would be a long shot now compared to when we started this, but I would love to just an uninterrupted, Aaron knows what I'm talking about, an uninternet broken down conversation with Sean Rossap.
Yeah.
Sean's
Yeah.
a good person and a good friend. It's just
Yeah.
I would love to have to take the time and sit and just talk about his perspective of the Wicked Crazy Pinfall and show compared to where it was when it started, and talk about what his expectations are of this, and because he did help, he had his hand in this, and he pushed it pushed me to get to this and that's in a positive light.
Mhm.
I'd love to have in DK. I'm thinking about you, man. Hope you get
Oh yeah,
better.
DK. Yeah. Prayers for DK, man. Hope.
I would love for him to be here. I would love to have Hannah back on with Rob and me or something like that, and I just want a lot of people to come on and just enjoy talking, because to me this is therapy. Like
Yeah.
I'm literally put a Hail Mary out. I'm working on that one and making sure everybody who wants to be on that one show will be on that show. So but the Holy Grail would be, like I said last year for me, and I'm still praying and holding it, would be having a roundtable conversation with Denise Salcedo, Sean Rossap, if everything worked out perfectly in a perfect world. Jeremy and
Bob
Ray.
O'Neill, Hojo.
No, like Ray, have
Yeah.
Ray in there, and like Drew and stuff like that. Just have like a really decent conversation and stuff.
I saw. I saw.
I
I know Elba said just traded with John Elba, and he said
I
it's.
I'm hoping that me, doing stuff with the Roundtable podcast and doing stuff with them, I can get other people the chance to do more things, like have Aaron, ask them if Aaron can pop on, or Anakin, or Drew, or I want to be more active in 2022 when it comes to this stuff, because it's more fun.
Yes.
It keeps me busy, and especially with my life going to be insane, as some people know. I'm going to have not a lot of time on my hands except to do certain things, but I want to keep going after a certain point next year. And I'm going to be so happy. I'm extremely happy in my life right now, and I'm very blessed, but I'm also wanting to keep pushing the pedal to the metal on this, so that way other people can enjoy it too, because eventually down the line, someone else is going to see me on this camera and be like, I know who he is, and I go from there. But I'm just very blessed, and I appreciate what Parrish has done. And believe it or not, your influence on stuff, because the Sunday brunches, I'll be sitting there and work and listening in, and we don't have a cable remote right now too, so I'll be like listening and smiling and chiming in and stuff, and I appreciate everything you do, what Spencer does. I think my hope, one thing is that Pluggo honors his damn freaking contract that he signed, that fucking god awful contract. I mean, what's this about? Okay, I'll get to this now. So go check out the Roundtable podcast from last night for Dynamite. There was a conversation about a prediction show for the Rumble, and the franchise was saying bring Grapsody, calling people out and stuff. And I'm like, he's like, you bring your crew, and then we'll bring our crew, and we'll see who is the best at predictions. So I'm like, okay, so I'll bring, so Drew Nicholas will be called, we'll bring him in, and I'll bring all these guys. But they were basically calling all of us out in the community in a positive manner to see who can outpredict who. And I said, I'll have the title belt representing us. And honestly,
This is for the Rumble.
yeah, And then I
I'm gonna be
put the
honest with
link.
you.
Yeah,
It's too
well,
hard for me to predict because I have no clue. Like,
well, go watch the roundtable show from last night. Give a like and
yeah,
subscribe to their stuff and everything. But Drew, basically, if it comes down to it, it'll be like a rumble like no other. And we called that. He said, I'll bring Drew. I said, you'll bring your crew, which include you, Drew, and everybody else. I said, I'll bring Anakin. I'll bring this and stuff because I have total faith in you guys. So this is a 2.0 rainbow versus gold situation. Yes, it is. Drew, if you're around, come and pop on. We're going to be on for a little bit. Might as well take as much time as we can.
I think this Rumble is actually interesting because there's no runaway winner this year for either the men's or women's. Like usually around this time, we have a good idea who we think is going to win one of them at the very least.
I have a feeling I have an idea for the women's side who's going to win. Because that whole theory that I got my ass kicked up on for the Rumble went out the window. But I still think it might happen with Bailey possibly popping back in if she's ahead of schedule. So I mean, I think that honestly, I am very hopeful that not only for other people to be in good places mentally, physically, and spiritually, but I also think doing this stuff, I think we're as a group here, Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, and everybody who's friends with us and stuff in 2022 are in a better spot too. I'm very fortunate to have friends, and that's with what just recently happened in the last few weeks. I've kind of realized what's more important around me. So, I mean, having this community, having my back, knowing I have my back with whatever's going on in my life helps. So, but what are your expectations for 2022, Aaron? Nothing about me rambling like an old man.
my expectations.
Yeah.
My channel continue to grow. Be able to go to a WWE event again. I mean, I know it's WWE, but I haven't been in 2 years, and I love the Hell Show. Hopefully, I could go in March since they moved it from Toronto. They moved it from December to March because of restrictions. Hopefully, an AEW comes up to Canada one day. But hopefully Toronto. But it doesn't for me. Hopefully Toronto. But I would like to see it in Canada because they have a lot of Canadian talent and Canada, as much as like Canada, Canada is one of the hotbeds for wrestling, and they would do well up here. Hopefully, COVID is in the COVID's gone. It's not going to be gone, but like it's not a major threat as it is. And it's going to be mostly like basically in the background. It's going to be around, but it's not going to cause problems for society.
I can tell you straight out, having COVID sucks. Worst 2 weeks of my life, but it's also was the best because I got to spend a lot of time with two people that I really care about too. So, but I mean, wrestling. Oh, speaking of Drew,
he's here.
There's the man.
Hello. What's up?
Hello.
Rocking the new beanie.
I don't have nice hair like Parrish, so I have to cover it.
Well, thank you.
I have no hair. Who are you kidding? So at least you both, all three of you got a hair. I don't, by choice. Did you watch the roundtable show from last night?
I have not. No.
Okay. So watch it, and then you'll see what I mean. The idea of the Wicked Crazy title being there was I said, yeah, I'll have that on me. They want to do a prediction show. Why not just make it a lot more fun? So the franchise called Grapsody, called Fightful. I said, love wrestling. It would be great to be a part of it because, well, you guys always are on point with the stuff, and Parrish is always fun to talk to and everything. we could bring Drew into this because your match times are on point no matter what. You're very insightful. He's like, just bring your crew and I'll bring our crew and we can go and have fun at the Rumble. I'm like, that's what it basically is. They basically
is Grapsody part of their crew, or
no?
Like is that a just different crew? Are there a bunch of crews?
No, he's just saying he wants.
Is this
he
like
wants
the scene in Anchorman where all the news people just,
go check it out and stuff. It's basically like the idea of the tournament. It's just you pick a men's and a women's side. It's kind of like what Pluggo does, but it's just it's more fun and it's just something. So he's like, I want your crew, Drew, Aaron and stuff like that, and and with Parrish and stuff, and Love Wrestling being connected and stuff. And then we'll bring your crew, and I'm like, let's have some fun with it. Why not?
Sounds interesting. I might actually want to do this.
Yeah, and the thing is that I wanted to talk. I want to talk to them and get some of like you on with me and stuff like that to do some stuff for them, and they're really, really cool. And Parrish is really cool too because talking to him, it's kind of made me open my eyes, saying I need to be more active than I have been recently. But you two understand why. So,
Yes.
What are your expectations for 2022? I know you want to grow as a person, so
I would love to grow as a person and not be as much of an asshole as I was in 2021.
Oh, you're an angel.
It's tribal chief.
Was I an angel? Was I an angel? I don't know if I was an angel. That might say something different, but but that's in the past. We're in the present now, and we're looking forward to the future. And the future, I would love to just be more, I guess, like what you're saying, more present and be more involved. I would love to maybe do a podcast with somebody. Those things not not hard to come by a podcast.
Throwback.
if you start your own podcast, dude, I will sign up as the first guest right here and right now.
I mean, I used to have my own podcast.
My wrestling show is coming back, by the way, Monday.
So,
yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, personally, professionally, whatever that even means, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. But, there's 2021. I didn't feel was personally a good year for me, even though I'm definitely cast a cloak over that with all of the fun it looked like I was having. And I did have a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this title and on your show.
Promos yelling at each other like we're fools.
And it was great.
And for me, and I'll say this because I think you might agree, I think one of the best moments that wasn't show related, it's just a random stream we did. I was playing video games and you came on. We were just talking about cars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want nothing but the best for the three of you and stuff. So, that's the best thing. There's a list of people I want to meet off of this thing. So, I mean, the closest one in proximity, other than like Ed and JPJ, would be Drew first, because obviously, me and Drew talk about stuff, and Parrish and Aaron, I would love to have them live closer too. It'd be great to have all of us sit down and talk too.
Yeah.
Well, depending on where they are in Canada, I don't know. How are
Toronto?
Are you in the Toronto area?
Yeah, Toronto's from a drive is about 10 hours away from New York, but it depends. Where are you, Drew? Like, where in New York? Like, because I know Long Island's like about a few hours longer.
Oh, I'm in the city.
Okay,
I'm right at the tip of Long Island.
Yeah, so we're about 8 hours to 10 hours in New York. I'm not sure if it's the same to Boston. How long is Boston out of New York? I think an hour.
3 hours.
About
Okay.
3.5, 4 hours.
So yeah, it's a little bit longer from Toronto to Boston. But I believe if I was in Montreal, it'd be a lot easier to get to New York or Boston. But I'm in Toronto, so it's. I know for Paris it's much farther. But flight is probably like an hour and a half. But yeah.
Where are you,
Well-
Parrish?
I'm literally using Google Maps to find out how far. it is right now.
Well,
When the first thing is saying flyover instead of like drive time, I'm not that close.
Yeah.
so I was just saying when I opened it too, because I think I'm gonna get jokes from Drew. Hey, you like all the piping behind me? You know, all the pipes.
You know, I didn't.
I
I
am
was going to be nice.
3,916 kilometers away
Oh.
from New York City.
Well, you know, us Americans are stupid, so we don't do kilometers. How many miles is that exactly?
It's about at least a day and
my
a
God.
half of a drive if you don't
Wow.
stop. And I highly doubt it actually will take people a day and a half. It will probably take longer, given how bad the roads are in Canada and Western Canada right now.
Wow, you're really far. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's
Oh,
near
I'm-
Edmonton.
I'm probably closer to Seattle than you are, than you guys are. Maybe Seattle. Well, Seattle's about like Vancouver's about 10 hours drive from me, 10 to 12, and then it's about 4 from Vancouver.
Oh yeah,
So-
we would have to travel all across the country,
Yeah.
like to
To
Seattle.
be fair, though, you can drive through Manitoba and Saskatchewan
And-
and not really miss much. I mean,
No, you're right. There's nothing there in those two provinces.
well, Manitoba, there's a lot of cold weather and a lot of
Yeah.
egotistical hockey fans. Like
But
seriously.
Saskatchewan really has nothing.
Oh, no, like you can burp and you've caught everything.
Yeah.
So what's
The
with
only
all
thing
the
to see
fucking
in
pipes
Saskatchewan
behind
is
you,
like,
dude?
hey, where does Brock Lesnar live? Because Brock
It's
Lesnar
the
lives
plumbing
there.
for the house.
Brock
have you
Lesnar
been,
is
like,
Bigfoot.
have you been demoted to some sort of tiny cave in the basement or something? What is this?
No, remember the studio I was telling you about?
Oh, this is the studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where my sister took over. Now it's going to be a spare bedroom for the boys, and it's going to be the studio. So right now I'm sitting on the freaking futon, and
Only Mario
There's
has many pipes.
Yeah.
Next level. Let's throw back has his back around.
there's going to be plenty of jokes for
Nintendo
weeks to come
would
until
still
the
be a
studio's
thing on
done.
consoles.
There's going to be plenty of jokes going forward.
I dare
So-
people to be as creative though than
Yeah.
making a Mario joke instead of a pipe joke.
Yeah.
I'll give you
So
credit
I'll
for that.
ask this and we'll sign off because obviously, between two beers is going to wrap up, and I figured it'd be great because, be nice.
Mhm.
What are your expectations, the three of you, of this year for Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, and what are your expectations overall for yourselves, like the high point you hopefully happen, like wrestling wise, professional, or in just the show in general for this and your own?
I hope
And where?
WWE gets its shit together. That's what I hope. That would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I like because I'll be honest with you. For this show, my show, whoever wrestling show I'm on, I like to talk more positively about WWE. If they try, if they let us, if they improve the product, 'cause I would try to talk more positive about WWE because AEW needs WWE. WWE, as much as they could die, they need AEW.
I think for you guys, I want Drew to have his own show. That would be
Yeah,
sick.
Drew, yeah, you should have your own show. Whenever time have your own show, just do it for have fun and
Well, again,
it's-
remember, I used to have my own show, but it's not as fun to do it by yourself. I am not Alex
That's true.
Pulaski. I never claimed to be, nor will I ever.
Well-
So,
Well,
If you got people in the chat, it's gonna become easier. If you have nobody, I'll say this from my experience when I do streams. If there's nobody in the chat, it's kind of not fun doing it alone. But if you have people in the chat and you're doing it alone, it's more fun because you can see the comments.
It's always more fun to have someone than doing it by yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but at least if you have people in the chat, you can at least answer some of their stuff.
Well,
but it's always more fun to have at least a second person or somebody join you.
Well,
so when I do stuff solo, it's because I want to end it. I want to end the stream on time because I may have to do something after. So that's why sometimes I do things solo.
Well, my goals is to make sure everybody that cares about this cares about you guys and knows everything about you guys. 2022 for me is to put positive things out still, but also make everybody else's lives a lot more positive. Got major things coming down the pike. Got working on
pipeline.
Yeah. I have. I'm trying to get one major person to come on here and make sure everybody is enjoying that moment.
I have one thing for 2022. MLB, get your shit together, get a deal done. I want baseball.
I just want hockey again, dude. Baseball's done for me. I just want to watch Bruins.
Hockey's back.
But I want people to know, other people's stuff. Like I want to have people find Drew and look at the time slots and stuff he does. I want Aaron's stuff to get.
No way.
But I mean,
direction to better.
But I mean, just like all the other stuff, and be positive. Like one of the things I know for me is to actually have a face-to-face conversation with this guy, with someone that's upstairs, and just have fun and just travel a little bit and just enjoy life, because 2022 is going to be 3 years since my mom's gone, but my mom doesn't want me to wouldn't be sad about everything, and people around me don't want to be. So this is going to be the year, to quote, the new day, the era of positivity, so to speak. So, but we're going to end this up. Been on here for a while, and it's been great, guys. Astrid, thank you for being by in the chat. Thank you guys for being on. Parrish, tell them where they can find you, my friend.
You can find me on all social medias. Twitter, you can find me at Chris Parrish. Instagram at Chris.Parrish. You can find me on Twitch at Love Wrestling CA. And check out all that stuff. We do have now a What a Maneuver page on Love Wrestling. And you can find me in Real Canadian Wrestling this Saturday, going after number one contenderships for the tag titles. So, yeah, if you're in the Edmonton area, come check that out.
All right, Drew, you know what to do.
You can find me on Twitter at Big Money Drew. Hopefully, it stays the best place to be in 2022 and not the worst place to be, because, good Lord, Twitter is just a bomb these days. But that's where I am wrestling wise. I don't share personal stuff. He knows my personal stuff. I don't divulge that information. But yeah, 2022. Let's make it better for everybody, like Throwback said. And hopefully, 2022, I could put another title belt somewhere on this thing, because it can't be here anymore, because now this is the Baby Yoda section. So I don't know. I'll figure it out.
All right, Aaron, do you think, man?
You can find me on my channel, AWO Earn War Order. I do wrestling stuff that's actually been something I haven't been done doing it lately, but I'm doing my show once again. It's coming back next week. And yeah, I do a lot of Marvel, DC, comic book talk. Movies, but a lot of movies have to do with Marvel and DC and the pop culture stuff. And there's sometimes other things that are not related to Marvel or DC.
So we're going to do this and say we're going to do a show next week, obviously, but comment, like, and subscribe if you're checking out the YouTube stuff. Twitch, need more people to get on there so we can be able to do a lot more things. Do a good deed, pay it forward, hit everybody up. Mental health's a little hard for nowadays with the new year coming in, so check in on everybody now and then. Much love for you guys. Have a good night. Happy New Year. And have a good New Year it will be.